This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Well, actually, no kidding this week, just me flying solo for the next 30 minutes. Nonetheless, happy to have you along for what we think is yet another great show. Coming up, are you ready for life after the farm? You'll hear from a financial expert on why now is the time to start saving, even if it's just a little bit at a time. Also on the program, the small roadside market is helping its community in a big way. How the owners of Greenway Farms of Georgia are living by the motto, know your farmer, know your food. And then later, a special story out of Michigan on how this group of farmers sprung into action to help their fellow farmers some 700 miles away in Nebraska. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Farm Monitor. Retirement, a time to kick back and relax. That is if you've saved enough money. Our John Holcomb talked with a financial expert about what farmers and business owners need to do in order to make sure they're ready for life after farming.
Saving money. It's something that Americans are just generally bad at. Why save when you can live in the moment, right? Wrong. According to every financial expert on the planet, you should start saving as soon as possible, putting money into accounts that will build over time. The great news is that these types of accounts are available to anyone, even farmers and small business owners who don't have your typical corporate benefits.
There's a number of ways that someone, a farm family, farm individual, can not only build savings for themselves, but they can also help their spouse or their partner build their savings for retirement as well. Where there's an employer and an employee relationship, there are those, some of those plans have the opportunity for the spouse to have a plan as well.
There are several different plan options out there for farmers and small business owners to take advantage of. Plans like IRAs, 401ks, self-employed pension plans, and several others.
It's easy to say, I'll do that later, I'll do that later. We don't necessarily have the cash flow to do it right now. And you put it off, and soon it's 10 years you put it off, then it's 20 years that you put it off, then it's 40 years that you've put it off. And now the time has come to retire, and you don't have the funds to be able to retire in the way that you wanted to.
One other aspect of financial planning is the actual transition into retirement. And according to experts, it's something that needs to be planned for as well, as it can be more difficult than people realize.
There are a number of other factors to consider when making that transition from work to retirement. What is that process going to look like? For many people, that's a really difficult transition to make. It is an opportunity to reflect upon where you have been in your work life and look ahead to what you have to look forward to in retirement. Maybe that's spending more time with your family, with your grandchildren, with nieces and nephews, with friends, in the activities that you enjoy. But it's also can bring up a time where you lose a part of your identity and trying to figure out what does my work life identity look like compared to what my new identity is going to look like.
Archuleta says the important thing is to be open about it with those involved. Communicate to them what you are planning on doing to make sure everyone is on the same page.
The number one thing families can do to be successful is to openly communicate. No matter how hard these are hard conversations to have. And you might not even have a clear plan or a clear idea of what it is that you want. But having these ongoing conversations, it can be an ongoing conversation.
Reporting in Athens for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
In other ag news, it was a time of celebration recently as UGA celebrated 100 years of the UGA Tifton campus. Known worldwide for its scientific research, the campus has changed the ag industry by creating better technology, better varieties of plants, and numerous other groundbreaking innovations, something that started with a vision and a commitment.
The bulk of our royalties that come from new plant varieties emanate from work that was done here at Tifton. So I think it tells a commitment over 10 decades for opportunity for scientific research that's impacted Georgia agriculture and, quite frankly, the world.
The commitment of people that made this place happen, because they put their money where their mouth was. They believed, and they made something happen.
Nothing says Mother's Day quite like a nice bouquet of her favorite flowers. Unfortunately, there's not always a wide variety to choose from. Fortunately, this wasn't the case for Porch Farm in Madison County. As the Monitor found out, they specialize in giving their customers exactly what they want.
So Porch Farm is an operation we started, my wife and I, in 2011, and it's a certified naturally grown sustainable flower farm, and we process them in buildings that are powered by solar electricity, and we deliver them to our customers in vehicles that run on recycled vegetable oil. This was something that fused my focus on sustainability. I was working with natural building, renewable energies, both electricity and fuel sources, and I met Mandy back in 2003, and she was already an organic farmer. So we tried to fuse the two passions together to create something that would be harmonious with both of our visions and help foster our ability to work together and grow together.
Grew up just a love of outdoors, always outdoors, fishing, shrimping, grew up on the coast. And then got into college, tried to figure out what I wanted to do, and just found this wonderful farm that needed some help, and then that's kind of where it just shot off from there. I love it. It's a passion. Even when I'm really exhausted, it's hard to kind of keep me down. It's where I want to be. It's what I think about constantly. Yeah, just super lucky to be out here.
I like working with my wife, and I like trying to do something that fits my values. You know, for years I looked for work elsewhere that would fall in line with, you know, what I felt was a good way to live, a responsible way to live, and I never was able to fill out all those requirements that I had. So being out here in this beautiful place with my best friend, doing something that we feel really good about and our customers feel really good about, really kind of checks all those boxes.
So we push the limits. We have a lot of peonies out here that actually come in at Mother's Day, which we're really excited about. And they're one of the flowers that people tell you can't grow in the South. So of course we decided to put in thousands of them, and it turns out that you can grow peonies in the South. So we're always doing things like that, kind of seeing what isn't being grown, but what we love, seeing if we can make it happen here.
Most flowers in the United States now, like around 80% of them are grown near the equator. And there's certain things that grow amazingly there, but there's a lot of things that people can't get anymore that they might remember from their grandmother's garden or from their mother's garden. And we're growing those things again, and it's the first time they have access to buy them in a long time.
They get to our booth sometimes an hour before we set up. They're so giddy. They've created friendships around coming to the farmer's market and meeting each other at the booths at certain times. It's just overwhelmingly positive in our life, the joy that people get from what we bring.
It looks flowery and easy, but it's farming, and it's very challenging, and there's a lot of setbacks, and the weather is tough to work in, and you're working, you know, 12, 14, sometimes 15, 16-hour days, so it can take a toll. So that positivity that we get from the customers really kind of fuels us and keeps us going.
Well, they say it is the perfect partnership. Coming up after the break, we sit down with the owners of Greenway Farms of Georgia to learn how they're changing the food landscape of an entire community.
In the United States today, around 2% of the nation's dairy cows are milked using robotic systems. In Canada, that figure is around 15%. And if all trends hold true, the U.S. dairy business will head in that direction too. That's according to Bill Verbort, General Manager for Agritech Analytics, the dairy records processing center owned by Holstein Association USA.
There is a plethora of data that is provided by these robotic systems, and our challenge is to harvest some of this data and turn it into useful information for the producer and the industry.
Larry Trannell of Iowa State University Extension explains the added benefits of robotics.
So the advantage is you tend to get an increase in milk production, usually in that 3 to 5%. I think it's going to continue to grow because bottom line is cows like these robots. They're responding to them very well with increased milk production and just the calmness and things like that. And people like the robots as well.
TriStar AMR, released by Holstein Association USA last year, offers producers who are no longer participating in DHIA milk recording systems a way to connect data collected by robotic milking systems with official Holstein pedigrees.
As we talk about TriStar AMR, I think what's important to know for producers is, number one, we can get that data onto a Holstein pedigree, marking it, labeling it as where it's coming from, i.e. the AMR TriStar. Secondly, the cost is considerably less, as to the tune of about 10% of what traditional DHI testing would be. And thirdly, we can do this with very little effort on the part of the producer.
More data translates into more knowledge and greater efficiencies, both on the farm and across the overall dairy industry.
The collective database that we have is what can benefit all producers. When we start talking about genetics and genomics and all of that sort of thing, we need a collective database so that we can be statistically significant in our numbers. And the only way we're going to do that is to bring that data in. And if we can bring that data in, provide a benefit for a producer, again, I think that's where we want to be.
For Holstein America, I'm Miles Ramsey.
Well, during his 25 years as Crawford County Sheriff, Kerry Dunaway helped a lot of people. Retired since 2008, Kerry is still helping people as the founder and co-owner of Greenway Farms in Roberta, Georgia. You see, by definition, Roberta is classified as a food desert, meaning it has limited access to affordable food and nutritious food. However, Kerry and his wife Robin, along with business partner Stephen Joy Hunt, are determined to change that. In recent months, they opened a roadside market with the idea that in time, they'll expand to become a one-stop shop for everybody's food needs.
Well, we began to see the need for good, fresh, clean food here in our community. Now, we're already selling to stores and restaurants from Thomaston down to Fitzgerald. We've shipped canned products as far as Hawaii. We go to a couple of farmers markets, one in Centerville and one in Warner Robins, but that wasn't helping our community.
As we moved here, we had an interest in clean food. Didn't realize we were moving into what's considered a food desert. Had no idea until we got here and we had the meat and the eggs. We just had to find the rest of everything. So it is it's a service to people to be able to try to provide that, not only to them, to just the community and to ourselves as well. Late January 2015, Steve and I and his sister and brother-in-law came out and met Robin and Kerry, and about 4 hours later we left. We just hit it off immediately, started carrying their products in the store in Fort Valley, and right before we got married in June of 2015, Kerry approached us and said, we want to talk about the future of the farm.
We changed course and decided to turn this old building into a local community farm market. We sell, of course, our products, and then we partner with other Georgia grown members. We source local fruits and vegetables. Dickey Farms is just a few miles from here, and we get all of our strawberries and peaches from them, not only to sell fresh, but also to put in our canned products.
Kerry's diligent in monitoring these animals, every aspect of the farm, but our addition relieved them from some of the business side of it and the sales side of it and the growth side of it, so that they could be freed up to go back to what their joy in the farming was in the first place, that had just grown beyond that. I don't believe you could ask for two people of higher character, of deeper track records of the lives that they've lived. So it is it's a good partnership that the pieces all fit together.
Certainly Robin and I could never have expanded this much without them. They're not only good business partners, but they're really good people. We're new in the grocery store business, and we're trying to learn what we're doing, and we're constantly inquiring of our customers what they would like to see us carry. So as we want to expand to meet the community's needs, and as we do that, we will increase our market days and hours.
So for the time being, head to Roberta on a Saturday and check out the market. Neat little place. Up next, showing some love to any trees on your property that may be affected by this nasty stuff.
As soon as a group of West Michigan farmers and truckers learned of the extent of storm damage to land, livestock, and property in Nebraska following 2 major winter storms, they put wheels in motion to create a relief trip to the affected region. Farm and Rancher Aid from West Michigan departed from Wayland Livestock Auction on Friday, April 19th with a combination of 16 semis and truck and trailer rigs loaded with hay, fencing, feed, and veterinary supplies to assist those in need in various Nebraskan communities, including the towns of Fremont, Schuyler, and Columbus.
It's calving season everywhere in the U.S. right now. The majority of the calves are born in the spring in the U.S. And with the storms and the weather they've been getting out there, a calf is kind of like a baby human. The first 6 to 8 weeks of its life are very critical. You have all the neonatal problems that come along with being young. We found a lady last week that we're bringing one of these loads of hay to. She just got to her cows last week, and they've been calving right along. So she don't know what they've been eating, how they've been surviving. So yeah, there's a whole multitude of problems that come along because of the flooding, and the cows haven't been cared for like they should. So it's kind of a trickle-down effect.
In mid-March and again in early April, Nebraska was hit hard by 2 major winter storms, causing widespread flooding and devastating damage from water and ice flows. According to the Nebraska Department of Agriculture, the state's initial farm damage estimates will be greater than $400 million in crops and $400 million in lost livestock. Doug Alberts with his son Eric are hog and cattle producers from Fremont. They lost close to 700 hogs as a result of the flood.
I was grabbing baby pigs out of the one farrowing barn, and when I started, the water was this deep. Because these pigs were like 2 to 5 days. I knew I wasn't probably going to save any of them by taking them away from the moms. When I got done, the water was up to here.
And it just kept
rushing. And I took 90 pigs. I got 30 of them that made it.
Total damage estimates are nearing $1.4 billion. Along with crops and livestock, there's damage to roads and bridges, with over 2,000 homes destroyed. To help ease the stress of loss during the Easter holiday, the aid group made stops at local food pantries to drop off non-perishable food donations and Easter baskets for the kids in the area.
We just kept hearing reports that a lot of these families had lost everything. So some of the kids got together and said, well, why don't we try to do Easter baskets? And so we threw that out on our Facebook page, and what we thought was maybe going to be, maybe a couple dozen Easter baskets going turned into, we are now slightly over 200 baskets. West Michigan has such a huge heart, and that's what's so great, is that these people don't even know the people that they're helping out there, and they just want to help.
A few minutes before departure, the drivers, their families, and supporters gathered for prayer, led by John Decker of Farmers Co-op in Hudsonville. When finished, Josh Van Patten with Ritterman Oil of Plainwell topped off tanks with donated fuel. The convoy then headed out for their 10-plus hour journey, and the following day unloaded their supplies at their drop site in Schuyler, where they were met by ranchers who were grateful for the help. As of the morning of departure, financial donations had exceeded $20,000. You can continue donating for the cause by visiting Farm and Rancher Aid from West Michigan's Facebook page.
Finally this week, he's back. UGA Extension Agent and gardening expert Paul Pugliese. In this episode, he's focusing on something usually associated with love. However, it has no love whatsoever for trees.
As a county extension agent, we get a lot of calls about trees that are dying back as far as the branches in the upper canopy. One of the more common problems that we see or get calls about is mistletoe. A lot of people don't realize that mistletoe is actually a parasitic plant that infects the branches of trees and can actually steal water and nutrients from those branches. And over time, if enough branches are infected with that, you'll have extreme dieback, and those branches can break and be a hazard near your home or near your car. So mistletoe is actually a plant parasite. So it's a plant in the sense that it needs sunlight to grow, but it's a parasite in the sense that it steals water and nutrients from the tree that it's growing on. It actually produces these tiny little white berries that are very attractive to a lot of different bird species. Birds will eat these berries, they'll pick them up and they'll eat them and digest them, and then they'll plant those berries wherever they land. So that's actually how mistletoe spreads from tree to tree. It'll affect a lot of different tree species, mainly hardwood species like oaks that are very common throughout Georgia. And if you have it in your neighborhood, there's a good chance that it can spread from tree to tree, or it can spread to trees within your landscape. So it's something to keep a lookout for if you have this problem in your landscape. One of the best ways to control mistletoe is to prune it out. There's really no other treatment that's very effective or as effective as pruning it out. Now, on small trees, this is something you can do at home. For larger trees, you may need to hire a certified arborist to come out and do this kind of work. One of the key things is to make sure you get it all when you prune it out. So you need to prune several inches, maybe up to a foot beyond where you actually see the mistletoe growing. So this would be an example of a branch that's infected with mistletoe. And I'm going to go all the way back to the main fork on the branch and ensure that I cut the whole thing out. And then here's another one that's infected with mistletoe. And we'll pull that one out, and you can see how I cut about a foot off of that branch to make sure we got all the mistletoe out. Sometimes mistletoe grows in places that you just can't prune it out. If it's growing on the main trunk of the tree or on a larger branch, you may not want to prune that out because it'll actually, make the branch or the tree look bad when you prune that out. So for those types of situations, we actually do recommend covering the branch or the area that's pruned out. If you just cut the mistletoe off the branch, you still have where it was attached in the branch, embedded in the branch itself. And so mistletoe has to have light to be able to grow. And so if it doesn't have light, it'll actually die out after a while. So what we recommend is actually wrapping that branch with a black plastic material, and you can use tape to secure it to the branch and keep it on there nice and tight. And that'll need to be adjusted periodically so it doesn't grow into the branch or girdle the branch. And then this actually needs to stay in place for about 2 years to make sure that you exclude the light long enough to kill out the mistletoe. And again, for larger jobs, this may not be something you can do yourself. For those bigger trees, you need to hire a certified arborist. So we recommend going to the ISA Certified Arborist website. The website is treesaregood.org. If you want to look up a certified arborist in your area that can do this type of work, and make sure you hire a professional to do the job right. So for more information, be sure to call your local county extension office, and be sure to follow us on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Hey, before we go, a reminder for all your latest ag info, be sure to check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and you'll see what's up in the world of farming and with us at the show. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor. Have a great week.